Hey everybody, it is your good friend Doc down here in the North Star recording studio, and this is my laptop, and I am doing the first ever live stream from the give you guys an update of what is happening. So this is an angle you've seen before. I just have the microphone and the camera that's on the laptop. So I have this laptop custom built in 2015. So yeah, I actually used it very little. Now it's my primary laptop or it's my primary machine. My desktop has been disassembled. The local computer guy is doing an overhaul of that. So I'll give you an update on where things are at. Doing updates in the studio. I had it kind of ripped out in here, cleaning, organizing, and changing up how and the whole site. So this is an angle, you haven't seen. What is in back of me is the fireplace right here, which in winter is going. That's the electric fireplace, and then of course my wall art, which is the book covers and the audiobook covers. So yeah, as you go this way, you'd go to the stairs and go upstairs. But right now, and actually I don't have any light like on me. It looks like I'm pretty lit up here. There's really no external light at all. So yeah, this is just testing out. So I've had this laptop since 2015. And it is really, hey, it's Heath. Hey, Heath. I don't have it set up on StreamYard, so I can't bring you, at least I don't know how to bring you up, like can center you, but kind of testing things here. So I've had this laptop, since 2015, a custom build. And I mean, it's awesome. So it's a gig of RAM, NVIDIA GeForce GTX card, Intel i5 processor. So it's really good. It's Gunmetal USA, hey buddy. But I probably have less than 100 hours on this laptop in 7 years. I just didn't use it a lot. I was using it for kind of maybe just like presentations, but then, things just got so cloud-based that I didn't need the laptop with me when I went to places to present. And when I do my university work, I just log this laptop. This probably ran me about $3,000 when I had this built. And again, it's a custom, it's completely custom build, backlit, 17 or 18 inch, no, I think a 19 inch diagonal screen. And then it has some industrial, like if you were to drop it, it's supposed to survive that crash. So it is really a slick setup, and it has like a lower keyboard on. It was so nice. And I remember it was the place here where I live. They're no longer in business, but they did custom build. We just put this whole thing together, what this machine would look like. And then it was kind of a shame because I never used it. Like I said, this is the first time I have I've fired this machine up in probably half a year, just because I'm always using the desktop, 3 monitors. I see now that my monitors are kind of dirty here from the side. Bring everything on a thumb drive or just access your Google Drive or OneDrive or whatever, and things worked out pretty well. So here's what I'm doing. And so this is just kind of a test on this. As I should have tested this earlier as kind of like a backup because I always had a lot riding on my desktop with different types of meetings and stuff like that. Plug an HDMI into it. This is Heath, and a wireless keyboard, put it on the big screen. So I could do that. It's Man Against the Masses. Yeah, emergency test. So right now, this is what I've been using, right, to get on the internet, do my internet stuff. I've postponed any of my podcasts and I'm kind of done with meetings for a while. My university classes are done. So this was the time. So my desktop was Windows 7, and I had that custom built also in 2015. So I found out the graphics card in that would still be $900 today for the graphics card that is in there. So it's pretty amazing. Um, so the machine is needed to be updated. There were some issues I was having with a memory stick, and then I have 5 internal hard drives in that, but only one was solid state. So upgraded all of those, and then just some other, just moving from Windows 7 Windows 10, and then changing up my version of Microsoft Word, like that. But so that is being done and going with 64 gig of RAM. So it is well, I don't have it over here anymore. So it's a Sabre motherboard, Intel 7, and then it had 32 gig of RAM when I initially had it built, and it had capacity for 64. We're up to 64, so that's happening right now. I'm also getting a 4th monitor. So I have 6 feet of monitors on my main system. So I have my center monitor, and then I'm flanked with the 2. And I thought about getting a larger center monitor. They're all 27-inch. Getting like a curved monitor in the center, and then putting the other 2 off to the side. But I thought about, with my space, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a new monitor, which I already have. It will be the 4th monitor on my system, and here to show you what I'm looking at. So there's my 3 monitors. So hang on. So the monitor right here, up above, there will be another monitor, just like this one, right above it. And so that is going to be pretty cool. And so there's a special 39-inch mounting bracket that will go onto this table where this laptop is right now, and I'll kind of build it heavy duty. I'm not going to just truss the table. I'm going to take some wood and kind of build an additional larger bracket area, mounting area on this. So it's very, very stable. And then, that monitor will be riding up above. And the reason I want that, even though I have 3 monitors, and people might think, well, hey, you have 3 27-inch monitors, you have 6 feet of monitors, basically, that seems like a lot. And there are many times when I feel I could use a 4th monitor. So if I'm doing a project, right, I just want to throw something up on a spare monitor. If something is kind of percolating through, I do a lot of videos for my university classes, even though a number of them are in person. They have a video fireside chat, something like that goes with it. And there's times when, like, I have my resources, the class stuff, and I'm like, boy, if I just had one more monitor where I could throw up the video or something like that as it's processing. So that's what this will be. It'll be an elevated monitor. So I've got the bracket ordered for that, and it'll be set back a little bit. So actually, as I'm looking to my right, it'll be to the right and up above a little bit. And that's the same one I'm going to throw DVDs. Usually when I work on big projects, I like to put it in. I just I got out my big thing of my movies and stuff like that. I haven't been watching those kind of lately, but or YouTube video or something like that. Have it playing. So let's go over here. This is Bacon. Doc not in his 3-piece bespoke suit. Oh my goodness. So all right. Hello. Good. I use a 65-inch TV, Heath. Yeah, I thought about. I'm not ruling that out. So the wall back there where that picture is, right? Um, that wall is going to be painted, and then that's just an extra room back there. But that's the wall I was considering putting, a larger, basically just mount a TV to that wall, and then I would put its own cable system and whatever over there. So that wouldn't be part of the computer, but I don't know. I don't necessarily need to do that down here because I just don't think I would use it that much. Um, but yeah. So Martin's saying, I eat gas station egg salad all the time. No worries. I haven't had egg salad for quite a while. So yeah. So that's where I'm at. It's kind of weird to not have the PC down here because after it was built in 2015, and it was built as a heavy duty gaming PC, so it had all of the it had the clear side on it, and I could adjust the pulsing of the colors and stuff like that, and 4 fans on it, and liquid cooled stuff. It was really wild. And heavy case. I bet you that thing goes easily 50 pounds. I mean, and there's so much heat sink in that to cool that machine down. But yeah, that's in its final stage now of being rebuilt. And we found something out that was really interesting. So today I got a call from the guy who's rebuilding it, Ryan, and he's like, what's the deal with this program? And it was a specific program. He's like, what's up with this? Why do you have your system creating a backup image to this one hard drive? I think it's like my L drive or whatever that is. He's like, what do you do with that? I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, you have 1.2 terabyte of backup files that this software is doing on this regular base that's running in the background, and I said, well, what else do you know? And he said the last time it looks like you accessed it was 2017. So I'm like, get rid of it. But it was legit. It wasn't any type of siphoning off my data or something. But what I did, I remember I put a program on it to try to write if the drive would have gone down or something like that, to keep a backup of things. And for some reason, I totally forgot that was on there, and it never prompted me for anything ever. Like, for as much as I use that machine, I didn't have an icon for it. I didn't have whatever. So anyway, we took it off and he freed up 1.2 gig on that one drive, and then and we're using all the internal drives a little bit differently to kind of play off each other to speed things up, or kind of shifting where the location of some things is, because like I said, I've got all of those drives going. I actually have like this pull-out drive in which he thought was pretty rare to have that built. It's a swapping station when it was made in 2015, and I don't use that one a lot. I mean, technology has just moved, right, where you don't really need to do that. You can get a 1 terabyte thumb drive or something like that if you really need to do. So and with cloud-based stuff, you just don't need that anymore. But anyway, the machine is getting worked on. Probably Friday, could be as late as Monday, depending on when things come in. And then it's basically me figuring out what stayed with Windows 10 and what I lost, because there'll be some things they won't be there anymore. So I don't know how easy it's going to be to reinstall a lot of things, because, right. Oh, I also found out my microphone. Here we go. My microphone, my Yeti that you seen all the podcasts, was interfering with the BIOS and other things on the machine. It's causing the desktop to lock up and freeze. And I read online that it's pretty common for that to happen. I know it happened to Aaron Clary a couple times. Aaron was telling me about it, and it was happening more and more frequently. And I'm like, whoa! And there isn't a driver update for it. So basically, I'm getting rid of the Blue Yeti and going with a Rode. I don't know if it's Rode or Rode, but it's going to match my arm, which is my mic arm is gone because I took the mic arm and the mic was attached to it. And it was just easy to take it in that way. And he was plugging in to see what was happening. It was throwing up some error codes, stuff like that. So yeah, that is going to be gone. There were some other things that were starting to go bad with the Yeti. It was starting to mess with my volume. I was noticing in like post-production as I would level the audio, it was kind of all over the place, even though like I just had the setting stationary. So it's a Rode, or I guess we'll call it Rode. I don't know if it's Rode or Rode, but NT USB mic. So, but anyway, looking forward to getting that. And so just we're changing things up. So there'll be Windows 10. I'll have to get the hang of that, but I'm going to reconfigure that to be as close to 7 as I can. I'm not a big fan of all those tiles and stuff like that, but the machine I'm talking to you on has Windows 10. But it got to be a little weird when I was doing consulting and stuff too, because there were some times my system wouldn't fully be compatible with what I was doing. And I was starting to run into that issue when people would share like Word and Excel and those documents. And I was running an older version of Word, so I needed to update that. But yeah, running into some things. So it's university level, I ran into that too. So tomorrow is it will be 80 degrees and sunny during the day, stormy at night. But so I will be out biking. This will technically be my first bike ride of the year. We had really wonky weather, even though it was warm last week. I had other things going on, so I didn't go out and bike. But tomorrow will actually be the first bike ride, which is about 5 weeks later than usual. It's kind of weird because like all of the stuff I put together for biking, between beef jerky and assorted nuts and Swedish fish, right? Almond milk, like that might have cost me $12 last year, and this year it's like $22 to just get the stuff ready for a bike ride. It's kind of just the inflation. But tomorrow will be a modest ride, maybe 40 miles, maybe 50 if I'm feeling good. I'll do lower gears because it's early in the season. Heath is saying best investment, Blue Blocker PC glasses. Yeah, thank you for that. I do have so the monitors, my Dell monitors, which I bought all at the same time 2 years ago, I have them set on the blue filter mode. And it's kind of there's a lot of different lighting down here. So the fluorescent tubes, I have those replaced with LED. So they still look that way, but then I reconfigured some of my lighting in the last 2 days down here. So the desk is lit up and also have some incandescent lights that kind of come down. So everything kind of works for me. I like a very well lit area. Whenever I'm doing stuff, it's always my preference. And yeah, I have been messing with the idea of spinning the right monitor, or one of the monitors. It could be on the left, straight up and down, going to portrait and landscape. So to try that, people if you throw text over there, it's a lot easier to edit text on that setup. All my monitors have that capability. It's just I have to mess around and do that. But so anyway, I'm jazzed here about the fourth monitor especially, and then having the faster system with the 64 gig of RAM and upgrading on the solid state drives and stuff like that. So those are kind of the big things going on. I cleaned everything down here in the studio, which was just crazy because this room last June is when the wood floor got put in. So everything was out of here. And then after the floor was installed, I put everything back. And that was the last time I really went and cleaned everything. Like once a week, I run the Swiffer down here and clean up the floor and stuff like that. But I went through and cleaned up everything and organized everything. So it really, really looks good down here right now. So yeah, what else is happening? So the economy, right? We've got some really crazy things going on with the economy, and I think there's more to this than obviously war in Ukraine and decreased retail sales, stuff like that. I think so Bacon is saying, first of all, did that flooring come from 762 cords of wood you had left over? No, and I have a half cord of wood total left over, just a small corner of the room over from me. That's it, just a half cord. So yeah, there was very little firewood left over this year. So, that's a low amount. Usually I carry forward about 2 cords. So a couple friends who, live in live in Phoenix in southern Utah. And they've been talking about the water issues. The aquifers are drying up rapidly. Not only the issues with the cutbacks of the Colorado River, how that's being divvied up, and now I don't know if it's Utah or New Mexico is coming in and saying, hey, like we never really took what we were allocated, so we're going to take that now. And farmers in the Southwest planted like 30% of their crops they usually would plant, because if there's the next cutback in the amount of water they would have, all these crops would have to be plowed under anyway, which they anticipate they're going to. It's cutback, right? So I think this is huge, right? There will be not only for food, production, but the possibility to have thousands of homes and hundreds of thousands of people who really just don't have access to water very quickly, like this year. So Mesa Verde, I spent a couple days, just kind of going around and reading articles and researching and looking at areas. And it's kind of weird because some of these people, like that would be one question I would ask right off the bat if I was living in like Arizona or something. Maybe like, how's the water? Or, if I'm living in a city, like how does the municipality get its water? And a lot of these people they interviewed, they didn't ask that at all, which I thought was really weird. I'm like, that'd be like one of the first things I would ask. And especially, these smaller communities where the aquifers are dry. So like people then are having water shipped in or not, or trucked into their house, and they're getting tanks, but that's expensive, right? So what do you do then? Like, how do you try to sell these places? Man, I don't know. Keith is saying, not to mention the massive amount of immigrants. And so you also have a lot more people coming into that area. So I think this is known on an economic level. And I have a friend who just sold property, a house in Arizona, and it was one of those things where the water bill is really high to start with. It was municipal water, but was starting to get the vibe of this might not be really stable going into the future, right? In the next year or two, it wasn't a very big municipality. What if they don't have access? What would happen? And then you can have a property that's selling like crazy today, like be worth nothing tomorrow. So yeah, they said now's the time because the questions are starting to be asked by more people. So yeah, thankfully where I live on close to the Wisconsin River. Just like 2 miles away. That's so I'm in pretty good shape as far as like the water situation. But so let's see. Bacon saying maybe California could try to steal all the abundant water reserves from Arizona and Nevada. Surely they have plenty to spare. So yeah, that's the thing, right? So Nevada, Arizona, Wyoming, California, Mexico, like, and the tribes, the Indian tribes. I didn't know about that, but the tribes can allocate so much water, and then a number of tribes have been selling their water. So at some point, you're not who are you going to buy the water from, right? You're just kind of selling these water credits. But it seems like a really big mess because the Lake Mead is dropping 1 foot every 5 days, which is, and it accelerates by after that. Then it's incremental. Like then it starts to increase by like 2 millimeters per day after that or whatever. So eventually, like you'll just suddenly start to drop, like a half foot a day or something like that when you get to a certain point, like it'll just start to accelerate. Um, but what are you going to do if Hoover Dam goes offline, which is a possibility in the next 1,000 days, next 3 years, right? That Hoover Dam would have to stop all generation, wouldn't have enough for any of the turbines. And so, right, you do that. How are you replacing that amount of electricity, especially as you're going to more cars will be charged off of? I mean, it's crazy, right? So, what's the plan? And then it's not only it's multifold. It's crops, it's residential. So you have these big housing developments that are being built, and you don't need. Apparently, in some of these areas, I've been doing some research. You don't need to have a water permit, or you don't need to. You can have a building permit, and builders can put in homes, but they don't have to have a secured water source. So I don't know. It's like you build a home, but then the homeowner is responsible for the utilities or something. So these subdivisions can go up without any plumbing at all. And it's weird, but there's something to it. I was looking it up. So that's how people, buy places, and then they're told, oh yeah, you have to put in a well, as Heath said. But then they drill down. They put $80,000 in and drill down 1,500 feet, and then there isn't any water. And then they're like, oh no, or they drill down and there's water, but there's arsenic in the water, so they can't use it. So it's this weird thing in a lot of areas, apparently in southern Utah, northern Arizona, where they don't have these regulations before you build. So I guess you can kind of think back to Old West, and those areas were really probably never slotted for development. They were desert up until just now. So, and so yeah, it's pretty crazy. Bacon saying, congratulations, Dave, you've entered into our social water credit score. Wow, that's interesting because that will probably happen, right? Bacon has a good point, the whole social credit thing. But what if, a year from now, as we have accelerated cutbacks to access of Colorado River and aquifers, right? Things like that. And a lot of aquifers are having this cone of depression. They're going down further. or they're just drying out kind of in total. You talking about no? Cappy's in good shape where he's at as far as like a water area, so he's good. I think South Dakota generally is in good shape. It's like once you get into kind of like the lower half of Wyoming. So, but yeah, you very well could have a water part of your social credit score or social water credit, whatever it is, but it could be there of how much you use, that you don't have turf, right? That you, I don't know, like whatever you're using to recycle, reuse, restore to aquifers. I don't know. But this could all be things like your house could be audited for how efficient your appliances are, all of that stuff that use water. Of course, everything being measured. There could be things like a competition, right? Like you could be for how little water you use. Oh, congratulations, you are in the 80th percentile for your community for water responsibility, meaning you use this amount of water. So I think all of those things would have to happen first, because there isn't any money and there isn't time to do the infrastructure. Like it would take billions of dollars and years to put the infrastructure in place, to maybe store some of this water underground and store it back into aquifers to get the arsenic out of the water. To put in these new updated distribution systems, because a lot of these have a lot of these smaller communities, their pipes leak, right? So they're losing a lot of water that way. But so Cappy's moving to Vegas for the year-round golf. Yeah, JG. So he's got quite the setup there where he splits his time between his two paradises. So he has a good setup. It's kind of funny. I was talking to him a few days ago, and one of the things when he initially moved to Vegas, which was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, his Vegas place, the biggest issue he was having scorpions were getting into his house and on his property. I don't think he ever got stung, but he would go out and buy these things at Home Depot, these big 5-gallon pails or whatever, of boric acid, the powder thing, and then he'd put a perimeter around his place. He would rake up all of the debris outside of his place, and then he would pour this this barrier around, which is supposed to keep the scorpions out. I think he kind of gave up on that. I don't think it became as big of an issue as what he thought it was going to be, but I know because he was telling me at his place in South Dakota, he has black widow spiders, which he's seen outside. So, but yeah, I mean, that guy's been, hiked across basically half the U.S., so there's probably not a lot that's going to throw him off. But SAS, hey, it's our good friend SAS One Too Many. So yeah, I'm doing this from the laptop. So it's just the audio from the laptop and the video. Normally wouldn't be this way, but desktop is being rebuilt and upgraded. So California rejected the proposal for desalination plants. Fools. Yeah, I think so, right? How can you, what's your plan B? I mean, and, I was kind of thinking, couldn't you pair that to like a nuclear plant to like power a desalination plant? Like, I think the whole concept is there and makes sense. And it's kind of weird how that isn't being used and try to perfect that on more of a larger scale, right? Because you don't have many options at this point. Yeah, I'm with you. That is just crazy. Bacon saying, pretty sure Southern California is at that stage now. Aren't they measuring their lawn water by thimble? yeah, and they're doing some mandates to rip out the lawns and stuff like that, but it's really the battle is I don't know if the battle, but its agricultural use is going to be a big issue because more cutbacks there, and farmers are already planting less crops, and then we could have Dust Bowl stuff starting. I wrote about that in the Velocity of Information. Back from 19, I think 30 to 39, the Dust Bowl. Arizona, New Mexico, Kansas. I mean, all those Wyoming, the farm fields just turned to dust. And you have these big dust tornado storms, and the animals died, and they cut them open, and they'd just be filled with sand. And people died from these sandstorms and hailing sand. In the winter, they call it snust, snow and dust. And the dust would be all the way over to like Washington, D.C. They would detect dust from the Great Plains. But that wasn't that long ago. I think that is factoring into the stock market dive, right? Much more than people are giving credit for, right? Because there hasn't been anything really new with Ukraine in the last couple months, and whatever. But there has been a lot new developing in the last month, and especially the last maybe week or two, with the updates on the Colorado River, and Lake Mead and Lake Powell and Orville Dam, Northern California. I mean, just this kind of the south, I guess, southwest. But so let's see. Heat. The scorpion are very location specific. Like they'll live in a palm tree and they stay there. But if you cut it down, they move in on your house next to it. Oh God. So better tell Cappy. So yeah. I just thought that was kind of a weird. That was his thing when he I guess a few years ago. It was him against the Scorpions for maybe 3-4 months. Like that was every day. And then neither of the Scorpions they came to a truce, and they were just like leave each other alone. And but yeah, it's kind of weird. Like I haven't heard him talk about it since. And that'd be like in the morning he'd get up and he would just be working to defeat the Scorpions. Pickens saying the misadventures of Cappy and the dastardly Scorpions to the dreaded Black Widows. So yeah, he was surprised. I think where he lives now that there's a couple Black Widows around there, but so I don't know. There's always something someplace, right? I guess. So, where I live, what you hear about is the wood ticks and the different variation of deer ticks and stuff like that. I don't know if that's more prevalent. We really don't have a lot of snake stuff going on around here because of the winters, and but yeah. Gunmetal Guy USA. Hey, buddy. California and like-minded states and individuals don't have a plan. They practice hot potato economics. You're right. They do, and it's going to be really bad really fast because you can't. How can you work your way out of not having water? I mean, there's no legislative solution to this. And that's the thing. And how do you come up with a plan B, or how do you come up with these hydro plants just being offline and trying to make that up? I mean, the number of rolling blackouts anticipated that I've been hearing and researching is pretty unprecedented for the Southwest. And that's because you're taking out huge numbers of generators that would be contributing 24/7. Not just when the sun is up. So it's Flying Rich. Hey, our good friend Flying Rich from Florida. Flying Rich. I did a show with Flying Rich a few months ago, we talked about the potential of 3D printing to be a huge asset during, or not probably during a disaster. I don't know if anything be during the actual disaster, but immediately following a disaster, right? Whether it be a wildfire that took out a town like Superior, Colorado, right before Christmas or right after Christmas, a hurricane, an earthquake, whatever. But I want to go back to that with Rich because I've been bookmarking more and more articles I find about things being 3D printed. And I'm like, whoa, so that's really cool. Like, you can do this and this and this. And I want to come up with a running document of maybe like 20 things that, let's say you had a wildfire, right? Wipes out a town of 5,000 people on like a Superior, Colorado, or tornado or something like that. And you were able to bring in a 3D printer and filament, right, on a couple Humvees or whatever you drop them in with a helicopter or whatever you do, and you've got a team of 3 or 4 people assigned to this. Like, what would be the 10 to 20 things you could produce instantly for that community, like from that moment? Let's say you got a power source for all the. So as Rich was saying, like a geodesic dome, like you could do like the component parts for that. Because here's the thing, like if you tried to source and bring everything in, it's going to be hard to gather all these materials and put them together on a pallet, and it's take a lot of time if you can just get the 3D printer there. One thing I read about was 3D printing catheters, and that was big. The hurricane that hit the Bahamas a couple of years ago, I forget the name. The Bahama people couldn't get catheters in, and I was reading where part of it was when they were doing like the shipments, they were in these huge pallets, right? So they couldn't bring in big planes because Runaway was destroyed. They could bring in small planes, but then they have to take these pallets and break them down and figure out where the catheters were. So if you could bring in a 3D printing machine that could do catheters, for example, like that would be an asset. That's great. In addition to, other things, or maybe you have this setup where you have 12 3D printers that unfold, right? And part of it is dedicated to what you need, or what would be emergency for water. Is there some type of 3D printed water filtration, or, even like some type of eating, like a spork type thing, but more robust that can be, I mean, I don't have any of these things really like figured out, but I want to talk about it. Not practical, but kind of crazy. A nail, carbon fiber nylon. Oh my goodness, Rich. See, even to talk about that. So I'm excited. I talk to people in the safety community, and I, talk about the potential for 3D printing, not the potential, but where 3D printing, I think, will interface with disaster relief. And I think it's going to happen. I remember, was it Hurricane Harvey? Yeah, Hurricane Harvey was really the first time drones started to be used in hurricane relief, and then not only like to survey damage in areas, but to deliver some things. And part of it before that was technology wasn't there, and the other part was regulations. You couldn't. I was talking to Cajun Navy relief people who had, the $15,000 commercial drones, and they said, by law we can't fly this in this area. So, but some of those things have kind of changed. You can use weed trimmer line for emergency 3D printer filament. See, that's cool. I didn't know that. So actually, like, I have a couple spools of that in my garage because I run my big 4-stroke Briggs & Stratton 20-year-old weed eater. So, yeah, which they don't make those anymore. That thing could probably take down a tree. It's about 70 pounds, man. That is a beast. 4-stroke. So It throws off a ton of heat too. I always use full synthetic because it just boils oil. So even with full synthetic, it will go through. Carb's good. Everything kind of, it's just, they only made those for so long, and it's just kind of a nuance of owning it. Not that big of a deal, right? Because I mean, it's literally like a thimble of oil when you use it. So that is awesome, Heath, with the wheat trimmer. See, like I never knew that, and this is where I want to. I don't know if write a journal article on this, or do something specific to 3D printing. I got into it in my book, but the book wasn't about like 3D printing specifically for disasters, and I didn't want to get too far off from there. But I did kind of lead into that. It was like, there's going to be more applications of it. And then we run into this whole intellectual property thing, right? Will the companies allow you to print certain things and distribute them during a disaster? So I don't know where all that stuff will go. But I'm excited, though, about 3D printing. I think 3D printing actually will bring us out of the supply chain issues. I think that was going to happen anyway. I wrote about it where, we went from warehousing in the 80s to just-in-time manufacturing in the late 90s, 2000s, up until basically 2020. And then just-in-time started to be stressed as people, right, lockdown, buying a lot of stuff and a lot of weird sequences of things getting bought. So you were taking things and just running them dry, and you're not catching up to that. But at some point, like I had it over here, I thought about 2030, this is where there's white papers from like Napa Auto Parts, and they're like, in the year 2030, when you come in here for a fuel pump, just give us your VIN number or whatever part you need, and we'll just print it. It'll be 3D printed. So they're not going to have the stock in the back. You'll just go there, or if you have the ability to print it yourself with whatever the filament, you'd basically have a subscription, right? And you'd say, here's the fuel pump I need, boom, just like you're buying something off of Amazon. And you would download the code, and it would just print it, one fuel pump for you. So that is exciting because it's going to take it's going to move us to we're not going to depend as much on travel for these finished products. But the thing is, we're not anywhere close to that now. So as a society, we're just not, we're not there. Like we would have naturally, I think, gotten there in about 8 years, but the supply chain fell apart kind of now, right? So we've got this gap, and people kind of make up the difference. But so let's go over here. Florida, because of hurricane, Tesla has been